Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 103. Last month we had the Rangers narrowly escaping from the moon as they went up against Mistress Vile and the mysterious vessel, with Rita and her new companion getting their hands on the Zeo Crystal, but the Rangers had to bring Lord Zedd with them back to the command center, and Matt chose to stay behind to protect the team, so there was some losses with their mission to the moon. And issue 103 of Mighty Morphin, I am fucking loving this comic, because the ending page made me pop. I was not expecting this character to return. This was honestly the last character I thought that would show up in the Power Rangers comic. The door was open for them to return, but seeing them return so unexpectedly, this has got me excited, because this character that just returned in the comics, Alpha 1, is definitely going to be a huge threat to the Rangers and the team moving forward. And seeing how they possibly align themselves with Rita, then that's going to make them even a bigger threat moving forward. So, let's talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 103, the Melissa run. I am loving it. I'm still loving it. So, let's talk about it. So, the issue opens up with what I thought was a flashback back in the day of Zordon and Zolfram, but what it actually is Lord Zedd is basically in a life and death situation. He's in a coma, and Zordon is using his technology in the command center and is linked between the Morphin grid to sort of help Lord Zedd recover. But while they have this meeting of the minds, Lord Zedd explains what happened when Rita came to invade with her new Mistress Vile upgrade, and she basically stormed the place and kicked everyone's asses. But the main focus on, or the main mystery, or the main emphasis, is on the vessel. The vessel, Lord Zedd, something very interesting about them, where he says that the dude fights like an Eltarian. The way they move, the way they fight, except they fight with no mercy. Now, there's a lot of speculation with who this character might be, and my money is on Zardius. That's like the only speculation I think who it could be, because we never saw what happened to him at the end of the Eltarian War. They kind of just disappeared, and you don't see their face and they don't say a lot, so it's hard to figure out who this character is and what their connection is to being from Eltar if he fights like one. But not only that, you do see several close-ups of the character's hand and sort of on what could be their skin, and it's very blue looking, so there's a strong speculation that this character is an Eltarian, but whoever they are from Eltar, we have yet to find out. So one character that gets like a lot of development and focus in this episode, as you see a change and a shift in their attitude, is Kimberly. Kimberly is not happy with everything going on, because you've basically got Lord Zedd getting patched up by Zordon, their own worst enemy, is getting fixed in their own command center. You've also got Babu and Goldar hanging out in there, and not only that, Matt has been captured, and God knows what is happening to him right now, and the Rangers can't do anything. And Zordon's plan is just sit and wait for something to happen, or sit and we'll think of a plan. And Kimberly doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to wait. She wants to act now. And everyone is just saying, hey, we'll just wait for the Omega Rangers to come. We'll get their help. Well, let's wait on the Omega Rangers, or let's think of a plan. And Kimberly doesn't like that. And not only that, Aisha is upset as well, because you've seen recently she's had feelings for Matt, and Matt could or may not be dead right now, so no one really knows. So tensions are really high for our heroes. And like I mentioned earlier, Kimberly is going for a lot of angst and a lot of feelings in this issue, and we're going to see them come out later on in this issue, and I gotta say, it is one cool moment when we talk about it. So after that, we then cut to Rita on the moon, and she now has the Zeo Crystal in her hand. So how she got a hold of the Zeo Crystal is the vessel grabbed the Zeo Crystal, and basically their arm got banged up and damaged really badly, but them sort of taking the blow from the protective barrier from the Zeo Crystal allowed Rita to get it in her hands. And Rita knows of the power of the Zeo Crystal, and she has plans for it. She knows that this Zeo Crystal is basically a key to a door that can unlock all sorts of power. So with Rita holding the Zeo Crystal in her hand, you can tell that whatever she's got planned, things are gonna get messy, that is for sure. So, yeah, Rita's got the Zeo Crystal, that's crazy. Like, my speculation is she's gonna take it the Dark Spectre, and that's sort of going to lead into Dark Spectre being revived or getting boosted by the Zeo Crystal, or Rita's going to use the Zeo Crystal for her own intentions. So, it's cool that we're seeing the Zeo Crystal come into play so early in the show, but not only that, we're seeing the Zeo Crystal fall into the hands of a villain, which was something that they sort of said, we mustn't let it happen, and now we're seeing the Zeo Crystal fall into the hands of a villain, which is nuts, and I can't wait to see what potential they're going to unleash with the Zeo Crystal in their hand, because we saw the Zeo Rangers use their powers, but now we've got a villain using it, and I can't wait to see what Melissa is going to do with Rita now acquiring the Zeo Crystal. So after that, we then have Finster and Squat talking, and we do see Matt sort of being interrogated and his will being stripped away by Finster by some strange green lightning and candles surrounding him, so some kind of spell is being put in process right now. But Squad is kind of curious why the vessel doesn't talk, because apparently the character hasn't said anything since they arrived, and they've stayed true to that, where they haven't said a word since we saw them debut in the comic. And Finster says, well, there's probably not much for him to say, and he's just serving Rita, which is what he should be doing. But after that, we then get this interesting back and forth with Squat and Finster, where Finster is kind of questioning if maybe choosing Rita was the right idea. But you do see Squat's loyalty to Rita, because Rita was the one who raised him ever since he was a baby, so of course he'd be very loyal to Rita. But Finster does say, hey, you shouldn't listen to Goldar. Goldar's a fool, and whatever Mistress Vile has planned, whatever Rita has planned, you definitely don't want to be behind Zedd or the Rangers when it happens. So, yeah, that was a really interesting back and forth that the characters had, but it's interesting to see Squat having, like, second thoughts on with everything going on. Okay, this next page is interesting because it's Billy and Kimberly having this back and forth with everything going on and how they're worried about Matt. Because Billy has ties to Matt because Matt basically watched his back throughout high school and looked out for him. But before that conversation starts out, you find out that Billy has upgraded the wrist communicator to get in contact with the Omega Rangers while they're out in space. But Billy says this, saying that the Omega Rangers are in the depths of unknown space searching for what is basically a phantom, but they said they'd check in. Now, seeing phantom, that's bold. That is written in bold. So does that mean that the Omega Rangers are out searching for the Phantom Ranger to look for more allies with everything going on? Because the last time we saw the Phantom Ranger was in Power Rangers Unlimited, well, in this main timeline, was in Power Rangers Unlimited Edge of Darkness, and he kind of knew that Dark Spectre was coming and he had been resurrected. So I wonder if the Omega Rangers were requested by Zordon or someone to seek out the Phantom Ranger. So I guess we'll find out later down the line. So after that, Grace waltzes into the command center and she's pointing fingers at Zordon saying, hey, this isn't the first time you've sent Rangers to the moon to die. And Zordon's response is, well, I'm not the one who gave Matt the morpher. And then Grace goes silent. And I gotta say, the artwork in this issue, or ever since this arc started by Simona, is freaking amazing. And especially in this issue where the tensions are rising and the stakes are high and you can see the expressions on the characters' faces, they're drawn really well. There's even one done for like comedic effect for Kimberly, when she's looking at Lord Zedd on the operation table. She's got this grossed out look on her face. That's a really good look you see on Kimberly as well. But the artwork has been on point this story arc, and I gotta love it. So, anyways, the artwork is cool, but back to the plot, back to the story. So, after that, we run into a character I was not expecting to see after issue 100 so soon, and that was Jason. And we see Jason, he's just out for a jog, and Bulk and Skull want him to teach them karate again. And Jason says, hey, didn't I already try teaching you karate once? And Bulk's reply was, yeah, but that was back before like the Power Rangers showed up, which is a nice little nod to Day of the Dumpster. But as they're talking in the park, a monster shows up made out of crystals. And this is where we get to the cool Kimberly moment I talked about in the start of the review. This moment I freaking loved, because this moment here, with how Kimberly handles the situation, this shows you can see the distress and how the characters are taking the situation into their own hand, and doing something by breaking one of Zordon's big rules, which is not to escalate a battle. So like I mentioned earlier, the crystal monster shows up and the Rangers' weapons aren't doing anything. Not only that, Tommy is still recovering from his injuries from the battle on the moon, so he gets knocked around from the monster. And Kimberly's like, fuck this shit, I'm taking matters into my own hands. She summons the Pterodactyl Firebird Thunderzord, and what's really cool is you see the monster looking at it going, ooh, that's a big bird, and then whoosh, Kimberly basically takes out the monster with the Zord, getting rid of it. And then after that, we cut back to the command center, and Tommy and Kimberly are having an argument because, like I mentioned earlier, Tommy says, hey, you broke the rule, we're not meant to disobey Zordon's rule by escalating the battle, and what you did is you just broke the rules. And Kimberly says, hey, it was going to do what every other monster does. We fight it, it gets big, we summon the Megazord, and then we destroy it. And Rita's probably doing that just to bind time so she can escape or do her own thing. And she's kind of right, that is what Rita did. That's why she summoned the monster, to distract the Rangers so she can get away, because we find out that she's not on the moon anymore. She's barely even able to get tracked because Grace put tracking devices on the Green Ranger suit, which is so expected of her, to be honest. But yeah, that fight between Tommy and Kimberly is really tense, to be honest, and you can, like I said, because Matt is captured, tensions are rising and heads are going to butt, and to see Kimberly and Tommy go at it is really interesting, to see these two characters at each other's throats, because Kimberly still cares about Matt. They're still good friends. And the fact that Tommy is sort of wants to twiddle his fingers around and wait for Zordon to give orders or wait to figure out what's the right thing to do, I can understand why she's pissed off. So after that, things take a very interesting turn because, like I mentioned earlier, they can't track Matt and Rita, but then they get a distress call from the Omega Rangers and we see the red Omega Zord all banged up and looking pretty damaged. So the Rangers have to sort of postpone their search for Matt and go to the planet Castine. And what we find is the red Omega Zord all damaged, all banged up. And then suddenly we hear singing. And we see the wreckage of the Megazord and a fire inside of it. And then we hear someone call out to the Rangers saying, "Who's there? Is that you, Zordon? I'd know he'd send you." And then on the final page, we see the return of Alpha One, who says, "I knew I would have my revenge." And that just freaking popped me, like I said. When I saw that page of Alpha One returning in the comics, I got really giddy, I got really excited, because I was not expecting this character to return in the comics. Like, I knew he'd be around and I knew he'd be open for like another story arc later down the line, but to see the character back so soon and seeing how he's messing with the Omega Rangers and formed an alliance with Rita, possibly, that's something to take into account. Now, there's probably going to be someone or some people in my comment section saying, that's broken, that Alpha One, a robot, could take out the Omega Rangers, Red Omega Zord, and I can understand how he probably did it. he probably set a trap for the Omega Rangers because they are traveling the galaxy, they are helping people, they are possibly looking for the Phantom Ranger, so Alpha 1 was probably smart enough to spring a trap on them by listening in to their signals and finding them out there, because if Alpha 1 has been in space the whole time, then no doubt about it, he probably knows how the Omega Rangers operate and had this plan sprung from the get-go to get them. But I really hope that Trini's okay, because it is the Red Omega Zord damaged, and you don't see the other ones, but I can understand why it's Trini's Megazord being damaged, because she was a part of the original team, so no doubt about it, he wanted to get his hands on some of the original Rangers in any shape or form possible. But Alpha 1 is back, that's freaking cool. I can't wait to see where the arc is going to go next year in 2023 in the January issue. So, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 103. I freaking loved this issue. I love what it's setting up, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go next, especially with the return of Alpha 1, because that changes the game in so many ways with this character showing up, because I was not expecting this character to show up. This was the last character I thought that would show up in this story arc, because I was thinking that Melissa would pull from like the villains from the show, but seeing Alpha 1 come back changes the game a lot, and I can't wait to see what she is going to do with this character returning. But yeah, this issue I enjoyed quite a fair bit. Rita's got the Zeo Crystal, Matt's captured, something bad is going to happen to him. Kimberly's getting all angsty and she's probably going to rebel. You never know what's going to happen in the story arc, and I love where it's going. I really love where it's going, and seeing how the stakes are raised already so earlier on into the story arc, things have my attention, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go. So once again, excellent issue written by Melissa, and I can't wait to keep reading in 2023. So, with that said, I think I'm going to bring this review to a close. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you guys later. Peace out, take care, bye.